At 2:17 in the morning, Emily Carter stood barefoot on the cold marble floor of a penthouse bathroom, holding a bloody hotel towel in one hand and the secret that could get her killed in the other. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, Seattle was drowning beneath winter rain. The city lights blurred into gold and silver streaks against the glass. Beautiful from a distance, lonely up close. Inside the penthouse, no one was breathing normally. 3 security chiefs stood near the private bar. 2 forensic accountants hovered behind them with tablets clutched uselessly to their chests. A former FBI consultant stared at Emily like she had just insulted the laws of physics. And at the center of the room, still as a statue carved from darkness, stood Luca Moretti, black suit, open collar, a thin scar cutting through one eyebrow. Eyes so cold they made the storm outside feel warm. He was the kind of man people lowered their voices around. The kind of man hotel managers feared more than lawsuits. The kind of man whose name never appeared on paper, even though half the luxury towers on the waterfront belonged to him. For 6 months, millions had vanished from his empire. Experts had searched his accounts. Hackers had traced his digital systems. Security teams had reviewed thousands of hours of surveillance. No one had found anything. Then Emily, a night shift housekeeper in a uniform that pinched at her waist and smelled faintly of bleach, had walked into the room to replace towels. 3 minutes later, she had pointed at a laundry cart and said quietly, "You're looking in the wrong place." Everyone laughed, everyone except Luca. Now the laughter was gone, because the towel in Emily's hand was not just bloody, it was expensive, too expensive, Egyptian cotton, custom embroidered, used only in the presidential suites. But tucked inside its folded hem was a thin strip of waterproof inventory film, one of hundreds, secretly sewn into the hotel's luxury linens to track stolen items. And on that film, printed in microscopic gray letters, was the proof: champagne, caviar, white truffles, unregistered diamonds, all leaving Luca Moretti's hotel through the laundry chute. Emily swallowed, her burned throat tasting of chemicals and fear. "They were not stealing from the vault," she said. "They were using the sheets." The room went silent. Luca took one slow step toward her. Every man in the room stiffened. Emily should have stepped back. She didn't. His gaze dropped to the towel, then rose to her face. For the first time since she had started cleaning Moretti properties 8 months ago, he looked at her like she was not part of the furniture. He looked at her like she was dangerous. Then, in a voice so calm it made her skin tighten, Luca said, "Tell me exactly what you saw." Emily should have lied. She should have dropped the towel, apologized, walked out, and gone home to the tiny apartment where her mother's oxygen machine clicked through the night like a broken clock. But she was tired of being invisible, tired of men in expensive suits stepping over her mop bucket like she was an inconvenience instead of a human being, tired of knowing the truth and being told her voice did not matter. So Emily lifted her chin, and she told the Mafia Boss everything. 12 hours earlier, Emily had started her shift at the Bella Vita Hotel with a headache, 43 in her checking account, and a voicemail from the hospital billing department. Her mother's latest treatment had been denied by insurance. Again, the message was polite in the cruel way only medical debt could be polite. Soft voice, professional tone, words like outstanding balance and payment arrangement, as if they weren't discussing whether a woman could breathe without suffering. Emily listened to the voicemail in the employee locker room while tying her hair into a messy bun. Around her, other housekeepers changed quickly, laughing in Spanish and English, complaining about guests, bad tips, and the new manager who kept cutting hours. Emily didn't join in. She sat on the narrow bench, staring at her scuffed black shoes. Her uniform was navy blue with silver piping, designed for women half her size. The buttons strained at her chest. The waistband dug into her stomach. She had asked for a larger one twice. The first time, the supervisor forgot. The second time, he smiled and said, "We'll see what we can do." They did nothing. So Emily wore it anyway. Because rent did not care if fabric hurt. Hospital bills did not care if men stared. And her mother, sleeping under thin blankets in a small apartment in South Seattle, needed her. At 6 p.m., Emily clocked in. By 8 she had cleaned 14 rooms. By 10, she had been called to the 33rd floor. because a guest had vomited on imported carpet after drinking a bottle of champagne worth more than Emily made in a month. By midnight, her lower back burned with a familiar, pulsing ache. By 10:30 am, she was in the service corridor behind the penthouse level, pushing a laundry cart loaded with damp towels and stripped sheets. The Bella Vita was not just a hotel. It was a palace stacked vertically into the Seattle skyline. Black marble lobby, gold elevators, private casino rooms, rooftop helipad, hidden entrances for politicians, celebrities, billionaires, and men who preferred not to be photographed. The staff whispered about the owner, Luca Moretti. Some said he was a businessman. Some said he was a murderer. Most said both. Emily had seen him only once before. 3 months earlier, he had crossed the lobby during a private event. Surrounded by men in black suits. He hadn't looked left or right. People moved before he reached them, as if the air itself warned them. Emily had been kneeling near a brass planter, scraping gum from the floor with a plastic blade. He had passed less than 6 feet away. His shadow had covered her hand. That was all. No eye contact. No acknowledgement. Men like Luca Moretti did not see women like Emily Carter. That was the rule of the world. And Emily understood rules. She had spent her life surviving them. But that night the rule broke. The problem began with champagne bottles. Emily was restocking towels in Suite 341 when she noticed the recycling bin. Not because she was snooping. Because cleaning was pattern recognition. Rich people left evidence everywhere. A lipstick stain on one glass told you if a wife had visited. Mud near a bed told you someone had walked in wearing shoes they claimed they never wore. A towel folded too neatly meant a guest was hiding something under it. And the recycling bins always told the truth. Suite 341 had hosted a private tasting earlier that evening. According to the guest services sheet clipped to Emily's cart, 6 bottles of Laurent Perrier Grand Ciancle had been delivered. Only 3 empties were in the bin. That was odd, not shocking. Guests stole things. Robes, mini bar bottles, silver spoons. Once someone had stolen a mounted bathroom mirror. But the champagne was not what caught Emily's attention. It was the dust. The service corridor outside the penthouse suite had polished stone floors cleaned every night. Any wheel mark stood out if you knew where to look. Emily knew where to look. She saw 2 sets of tracks. One from the standard housekeeping cart. One wider, heavier, deeper at the left wheel. A catering cart. Except catering had left hours ago. She followed the faint track with her eyes down the corridor, past the staff elevator, toward the private laundry chute reserved only for penthouse linens. Then she saw the sheet, half tucked behind a service door. White Egyptian cotton, freshly stained with red wine. The stain had spread strangely, not like spilled wine soaking outward, but like something wet had been pressed inside the fold. Emily picked it up. The sheet was heavier than it should have been. Her first thought was water. Her second thought was trouble. Then she unfolded the hem. Something hard rolled against her palm. A diamond small, loose, cold as ice. For several seconds Emily forgot how to breathe. She stared at it beneath the ugly fluorescent corridor light, her pulse thudding in her ears. Then a hand closed around her wrist. Hard. What do you think you're redoing? Emily looked up. Victor Hale stood over her, the hotel CFO. Polished silver hair, expensive navy suit, smile like a knife hidden under silk. He smelled of bergamot cologne and expensive cigarettes. Emily had seen him many times. He was the kind of executive who never learned staff names but complained when staff did not greet him fast enough. His fingers tightened around her wrist. Emily instinctively tried to pull away. Victor's smile vanished. That doesn't belong to you, he said softly. Emily's gaze flicked to the sheet, then to the diamond. And in that small movement, she understood something much worse than theft. Victor was not surprised. He was angry she had found it. A door opened down the corridor. Voices spilled out. Men's voices. One of them said, "Mr. Moretti is asking why the audit team found nothing." Victor released Emily so quickly she stumbled. He bent, picked up the diamond, and slipped it into his pocket with practiced ease. Then he leaned close enough that his voice brushed her ear. "You saw nothing." Emily's heart hammered. Victor smiled again, all polish restored. "If you enjoy having a job." He turned and walked toward the penthouse doors. Emily stood frozen in the service corridor, holding the stained sheet against her chest. Every survival instinct screamed one word: leave. But then she thought of the hospital voicemail. Her mother's breath rattling in the night. The rent notice taped to their apartment door. The way Victor had touched her like she was disposable. Something hot and reckless moved through Emily's chest. She looked down at the sheet, at the strange stitch line in the hem, at the weight of the fabric, at the wheel marks leading toward the chute. Then she did something she had never done in 8 months of working at Bella Vita. She walked into a room where she had not been invited. The penthouse meeting was already tense when Emily entered. Luca Moretti stood near the glass wall with his back to the storm. The city glittered below him, but he made the view irrelevant. 3 men argued near the table. Victor Hale stood to the side, calm and immaculate, holding a tablet. A security consultant was explaining, for the 3rd time, that the missing inventory had to be a digital reporting error. The numbers balance, he said. The access logs are clean. Nobody entered the vault. Nobody bypassed the loading dock cameras. The system has no breach. Luca did not move. $2 million doesn't vanish because numbers balance. His voice was low, no anger, no volume. That made it worse. The room seemed to shrink around him. Victor cleared his throat. Luca, we've looked everywhere. The issue is likely supplier-side fraud. I recommend we delay any internal escalation until you recommend many things. Luca said. Victor went quiet. Emily stood near the door, gripping the sheet so hard her fingers ached. No one noticed her at first. Then one of the security men turned. Housekeeping shouldn't he be here? Several heads swung toward her. Victor's face changed for half a second. Not fear. Warning. Emily almost backed out. Then Luca looked at her. The full weight of his attention hit like cold water. What are you holding? He asked. Emily opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Victor stepped forward. She's confused. Staff sometimes wander into restricted she can answer. Luca said. Victor stopped. Emily felt every eye in the room burning into her. She lifted the sheet. You rechecking the wrong door. One of the consultants laughed under his breath. Emily heard it. Luca heard it too. His gaze sharpened. Explain. Emily swallowed. Your champagne isn't leaving through the guest elevators. Your caviar isn't leaving through the loading dock. Your diamonds aren't leaving through the vault. The room went silent. Victor's jaw flexed. Emily's voice trembled, but she kept going. They leaving through laundry. A security chief scoffed. That's impossible. Penthouse laundry is weighed before pickup. Yes, Emily said. By total cart weight. Not by fabric density. The man blinked. Emily moved toward the table and placed the sheet down. Her hands were shaking now, but the fear had become sharp, useful. These sheets are custom. Heavy cotton. Double-stitched hems. Someone opened the seams, added inventory film, and started using them as soft containers. Liquor labels, loose stones, vacuum-sealed packets. Anything thin enough to hide in folded linen. Victor gave a small laugh. This is absurd. Emily looked at him. For the first time, she let herself feel anger. No, she said. Absurd is ordering 6 bottles of champagne and throwing away only 3. Victor's smile faded. Emily pointed toward the corridor. The cart tracks outside suite 341 are wrong. Standard housekeeping carts leave 4 narrow marks. Catering carts leave 2 deep rear marks because the weight sits low. There are heavy cart tracks leading from the suite to the laundry chute. After catering had already signed out. The room had gone very still. Emily continued faster now, because if she stopped, fear would swallow her whole. And the left wheel drags. Same mark I saw last week near the staff elevator after a line-in pickup that was logged 3 hours late. I thought it was a broken laundry cart. It wasn't. It was the same cart being used off schedule. Luca's eyes had not left her face. Show me, he said. Victor moved. Luca, this is a waste of. Luca raised one hand. Victor stopped like a dog hitting the end of a leash. Show me, Luca repeated. Emily took the towel from the bathroom counter, the one she had found near the sink. Red smudges marked one edge. She turned the hem inside out. A strip of waterproof film peeled loose beneath her fingernail. Tiny gray text glimmered under the light. Luca stepped closer. So did everyone else. Emily read the line aloud. Suite 341, private reserve champagne, 3 missing bottles, 1 diamond packet. Delivery wrote B. Victor's face drained of color. No one spoke. Then Luca looked at his CFO, and the room became dangerous. Victor's hand moved toward his jacket. Luca moved faster. In one fluid motion, he crossed the room, seized Victor by the throat, and slammed him against the glass wall. The storm flashed behind them. Lightning turned the penthouse white. Emily gasped. Victor choked, fingers clawing at Luca's wrist. Luca leaned in, his voice almost gentle. Did you really think I would find the rot? Victor's eyes flicked toward Emily. Pure hatred. That one look told her everything. She was no longer invisible. She was a witness. And witnesses in Luca Moretti's world did not live long without protection. By 3:05 am, Victor Hale had vanished into an elevator guarded by two silent men. By 3:20, hotel security had locked down the penthouse floors. By 3:40, 3 laundry carts were opened in the service corridor. Inside the hems of sheets and towels, they found more than stolen champagne labels, diamonds, bearer bonds, US drives, encrypted access cards. A child's photograph sealed in plastic. Emily saw it before Luca did. A little girl, dark hair, serious eyes, standing in front of a carousel. On the back, written in black ink, were 3 words: "We found her." Luca snatched the photograph from the table so fast the air seemed to crack. For the first time all night, his control slipped. Not much, just enough. His fingers tightened around the photo. His face went pale beneath the hard angles. Emily saw it. The ruthless man, the feared man, the monster everyone whispered about, afraid. Not for himself. For someone else. Their eyes met. In that one silent second, Emily understood she had uncovered something much bigger than stolen luxury goods. Luca turned to his men. Clear the room. No one questioned him. Within seconds, Emily was alone with the most dangerous man in Seattle. Rain lashed the windows. The penthouse seemed too large, too quiet. Emily took a step back. Luca noticed. He always noticed. "You're afraid of me now," he said. Emily forced herself to hold his gaze. "I was afraid of you before." Something unreadable moved across his face. Smart. He placed the photograph inside his jacket. Emily's throat tightened. "Who is she?" Luca's eyes darkened. "No one." Emily almost laughed, but there was no humor in it. "That's a lie." His gaze sharpened. Men had probably died for less. But Emily was too exhausted to soften the truth. "You looked like someone put a gun to your heart," she whispered. "That doesn't happen for no one." Luca stared at her for a long moment. Then he walked to the bar, poured a drink, and did not drink it. "My daughter," he said. The words landed softly. Devastatingly, Emily's breath caught. "No one knows," Luca continued. "Not the press, not my partners, not my enemies. Her mother died when she was 2. Since then, Sophia has lived under another name outside the city." Emily looked toward the door Victor had disappeared through. "And now someone knows." Luca's silence was answer enough. The room felt colder. Emily hugged herself, suddenly aware of her damp sleeves, aching feet, and the ugly fluorescent light making her feel smaller than she wanted to be. "I should go," she said. No one word. Absolute. Emily's spine stiffened. "Excuse me, you found the leak. You saw the photograph. Victor saw your face." Luca turned back to her. "You don't go home alone." A bitter laugh escaped her. "I have a mother at home who needs medication by 9 in the morning. I'll send a doctor. I didn't ask for one." "No," Luca said quietly. "You asked for nothing. That's becoming a problem." Emily stared at him. The storm flashed again. For a moment, he looked less like a man, and more like a warning dressed in black. Then he reached into his jacket and pulled out a thick envelope. He placed it on the table between them. 50,000, he said, "for what you found." Emily looked at the envelope. Her stomach twisted. That money could pay hospital bills, rent, medication, maybe even a real bed for her mother instead of the second-hand recliner she slept in when breathing became too hard. Emily wanted it so badly it hurt. So she stepped back. "No." Lucas' expression did not change, but the air did. "You solved a $2 million theft. I cleaned a room. You exposed a traitor. I noticed dirty sheets. You saved my daughter's life. That made her go still." Lucas' voice lowered. "Take the money." Emily looked at him then. Really looked. At the power, the exhaustion buried beneath it. The violence kept on a leash. The impossible loneliness. And she hated that some reckless part of her felt safer under his gaze than she had felt under Victor's smile. "I don't take money I can't explain," she said. "I don't take favors from men who can make people disappear. And I don't become part of a story that ends with me floating in the harbor." His eyes sharpened with something almost like admiration. You speak to me like you don't know who I am. No, Emily whispered. I speak to you like I know exactly who you are. For the first time, Luca Moretti almost smiled, almost. Then his phone buzzed. He looked at the screen. The temperature in the room dropped. Emily knew before he spoke that something terrible had happened. Luca's hand closed around the phone. My daughter's safe house just went dark. The next 10 minutes were chaos wrapped in silk. Men appeared from nowhere. Black coats, hidden weapons, earpieces, low voices. The penthouse transformed from luxury suite to war room. Emily stood near the wall, forgotten again by most of them. But not by Luca. Never by Luca. Every time someone moved too close to her, his eyes cut in their direction. Every time she shifted, his attention returned. It was unsettling. Possessive, dangerous, and worse, some part of her was beginning to depend on it. Caleb Russo, Luca's underboss, arrived at 3:52 and he was broad-scarred and quiet in a way that made loud men seem foolish. He took one look at Emily and said, "She comes with us." Luca answered without hesitation, "Yes." Emily straightened. "No, she does not." Every man in the room turned. Caleb looked almost amused. Luca did not. "This isn't a negotiation," Luca said. "It is if you re-talking about my body moving from one place to another." A muscle ticked in his jaw. Emily's heart pounded, but she didn't back down. "I have a mother," she said. "I have rent. I have a life." "You had a life," Luca said, voice low. "Victor saw your face. The Vokovs know you found their channel. By sunrise they'll know where you live." Fear sliced through her. Not because she doubted him. Because she believed him. Luca stepped closer, slowly enough not to scare her, though everything about him was built to scare. "I can make you trust me," he said. "But I can keep you alive long enough to hate me for it." Emily hated that line. Hated the quiet sincerity of it. Hated the way her throat tightened. She looked toward the rain-soaked windows. In the glass reflection she saw herself. Messy hair, round face, tired eyes, uniform stretched too tight. Standing among predators. She looked out of place. But she had also been the only person in that room who had seen the truth. Maybe invisibility had kept her alive. Maybe now it would get her killed. "Fine," she said. "But we stop at my apartment first." Luca's eyes narrowed. "Why, my mother?" He argue. That scared her more than if he had at 4:25 am. 3 black subs cut through Seattle rain like funeral cars. Emily sat in the back seat beside Luca. Not touching. Too close anyway. The leather smelled expensive. The windows were tinted so dark the city looked like a memory. Caleb drove, another sub followed behind. A third led the way. Emily kept her hands folded tightly in her lap. She could feel Luca beside her without looking. The heat of him, the control. The silence. "You re-bleeding," he said. Emily blinked. "What?" He reached toward her hand. She jerked away instinctively. His hand stopped midair. For a second, neither of them moved. Then Luca slowly lowered his hand. "Your wrist," he said. Emily looked down. Victor's grip had left bruises blooming purple around her skin. She hadn't noticed. Now she did. Pain pulsed to life. "It's nothing," she said. Luca's gaze stayed on the bruises. His voice turned dangerously soft. "It isn't." Emily felt something shift in the car. Caleb glanced once in the rearview mirror, then looked away. Luca did not touch her, but his restraint felt more intimate than touch. As if he wanted to destroy something, and was choosing not to because she was sitting beside him. Emily looked out the window. "You can kill everyone who hurts people." "No," Luca said. "Only the ones who hurt mine." Her breath caught. "I'm not yours." The silence after that was thick. Then Luca said, "Not yet." Emily turned to him. His face was calm. Too calm. But his eyes were not. There was no flirtation there, no softness, no easy charm, only certainty. And it frightened her because a man like Luca Moretti did not say things because they sounded romantic. He said them because he intended to make them true. Emily's apartment building looked even worse with mafia subs parked outside. Peeling paint, broken entry light, rain leaking through the lobby ceiling into a plastic bucket. Luca stepped out first. Emily tried not to notice the way he scanned every window, every parked car, every shadow beneath the stairwell. 2 men followed them up. Emily hated it. She hated the way the neighbors cracked their doors. Hated the shame rising hot in her throat. Hated that Luca saw the water stains, the rusted railing, the hallway that smelled of cigarettes and old carpet. At her door, she turned. "Stay outside." Luca looked at her. "My mother does need to wake up surrounded by armed men." For a moment, she thought he would refuse. Then he nodded once. Emily slipped inside. The apartment was small and dim. Her mother, Ruth Carter, slept in the recliner beside the window, oxygen tube under her nose, gray hair loose around her thin face. Emily's chest tightened. She crossed the room and checked the machine. Still running. Medication schedule on the table. Half-empty bottle of water. Stack of bills held down by a chipped mug. Home. Fragile, ugly, precious home. Ruth whispered. Emily froze. "I'm here, Mom." Ruth opened her eyes, cloudy with sleep. "You relate." "I know, you crying." Emily touched her face. She was. No, she lied. Her mother's gaze moved past her to the shadow under the door. "Who's outside?" Emily swallowed. "A man from work." Ruth's eyes sharpened in the way only mother's eyes could. "Good man or bad man?" Emily almost laughed, almost broke. "I don't know yet." A knock sounded. Emily stiffened. Luca's voice came through the door. Emily, her name. But the urgency in it turned her blood cold. She opened the door. Luca stood there with his gun drawn, not raised, but ready. "The building has a rear entrance?" he asked. Emily's mouth went dry. Yes, his eyes flicked to her mother. "Take what she needs. Now." Then the hallway window exploded. Gunfire ripped through the corridor. Emily screamed. Luca moved like violence had been waiting under his skin. He shoved Emily behind him, one arm locking across her waist, pulling her against his body as bullets tore through the doorframe. Wood splintered, glass shattered. Ruth cried out. Luca fired once. Twice. The sound was deafening. Emily clung to his coat, frozen between terror and the impossible sensation of his body shielding hers completely. Luca shouted. The apartment filled with men, movement, commands, boots, smoke. Luca dragged Emily low, covering her head with his hand as another shot cracked from the stairwell. A bullet struck the wall inches from where she had been standing. Luca's face changed. The cold control vanished. Something savage took its place. He looked down at Emily, his hand still cradling the back of her head. "Stay behind me." This time, Emily didn't argue. They left the apartment through the fire escape. Rain soaked Emily within seconds. One of Luca's men carried Ruth carefully wrapped in a blanket, oxygen tank secured under his arm. Emily followed, shaking so hard she almost slipped. Luca caught her before she fell. His hand closed around her waist, firm, hot through the wet fabric. For one breath, they were pressed together on the metal landing, while rain poured around them and sirens screamed somewhere far away. His eyes searched her face. "Are you hit?" Emily shook her head. His gaze dropped, checking anyway. Possessive, furious, terrified in a way he would never admit. Then he looked at the street below, where two black SUVs waited with doors open. "Move," they ran. Halfway across the alley, another shooter appeared near the dumpster. Emily saw the gun before anyone else did. Luca, he turned as the shot fired. The bullet grazed his side. He staggered but did not fall. Caleb dropped the shooter before Emily could scream. Luca looked down at the blood spreading beneath his coat, then back at Emily, as if the wound annoyed him only because it had interrupted their escape. "You're insane," she gasped. His mouth curved slightly despite the blood. "You keep saying things no one else says to me. Maybe everyone else is scared of you. You are too." "Yes," Emily whispered. But apparently not enough. That almost smile vanished. Something deeper replaced it, for one dangerous second. With rain running down his face and blood darkening his shirt, Luca looked at her like she had reached inside him and touched something buried. Then Caleb yelled, "Boss!" The moment shattered. Luca pushed Emily into the SUV and climbed in after her. As the cars tore into the rain, Emily looked back at the apartment building disappearing behind them. Her life had not slowly changed. It had been shot apart. And sitting beside her, bleeding silently into his black shirt, was the man who had both ruined her world and saved everyone in it. The safe house sat on a cliff above Puget Sound. Not a house, a fortress pretending to be one. Glass walls, concrete spine, steel gates hidden among pine trees. Below, black water crashed against rocks. By dawn, Ruth Carter was asleep in a private medical room with a real doctor adjusting her oxygen flow. Emily stood outside the door in borrowed sweatpants and an oversized sweater, still damp from rain. She should have been grateful. She was. She should have been furious. She was that too. Luca was in the kitchen, refusing stitches from a doctor who looked terrified to insist. Emily walked in and saw blood. Too much of it. His shirt was off. She stopped, not because of the wound, because of the scars, old ones across his ribs. A knife mark near his shoulder, a bullet scar low on his abdomen, a body mapped by violence. Luca saw her looking. His expression closed. You should be with your mother. You should be sitting down. I've had worse. That's not the impressive sentence men think it is. The doctor looked like he wanted to disappear. Caleb, leaning near the door, actually cuffed into his fist. Luca's eyes stayed on Emily. Leave us, he said. The doctor fled. Caleb hesitated. Luca did not look away from Emily. Everyone. The room emptied. Emily's pulse tripped. Being alone with Luca felt different now. In the penthouse, he had been power. In the SUV, he had been danger. Here, shirtless and bleeding beneath soft grey morning light, he looked painfully human. Still dangerous, but human. Emily grabbed the medical kit. I'm not a nurse. I didn't ask you to be. No. You just dismissed the actual doctor. He was nervous. You were bleeding because you argued with a doctor. His mouth twitched. Emily sat beside him and pressed gauze to the wound harder than necessary. Luca inhaled sharply. Good, she said. You can feel pain. I was starting to wonder. His gaze locked on her face. You're angry. I was shot at in my own apartment. Yes, my mother had to be carried down a fire escape. Yes, I found your stolen champagne. And somehow my life turned into a war movie. His voice softened. I am sorry. Emily's hands stilled. She looked up. Men like Luca Moretti probably apologized less often than they bled. He held her gaze. And the apology did not feel polished. It felt dragged out of him. Against her will, her anger cracked. Just a little. Who attacked us? She asked. The Volkov Syndicate. Because of me. Because of what you found. That's a careful answer. It's the answer I can give you without lying. Emily pressed the bandage into place. Then tell me the truth. Luca looked away toward the window. Outside, morning fog crawled over the water. Victor sold them access to my hotel systems. But the theft wasn't only about money. They were using the laundry route to move messages. Diamonds, documents. The photograph of Sophia means they were closer than they should be. Emily's throat tightened. Where is she being moved? Is she safe? Lucas' jaw tightened. For now, Emily studied him, the feared Mafia Boss. The man who could order death with one glance. Sitting in a quiet kitchen with blood on his ribs and fear for a little girl hidden behind his eyes. You love her, Emily said softly. He looked at her then. The silence felt intimate, dangerous. Yes. One word. No defense. No explanation. Emily looked down and taped the gauze carefully. My mother used to say love makes people brave. She whispered. I think it makes people terrified. Luca's voice lowered. It makes men like me weak. Emily met his gaze. No, it makes men like you dangerous for a reason. Something changed between them. Not romance. Not yet. Something more frightening. Recognition. Luca's hand lifted slightly, as if he was going to touch her face. Emily saw the movement. He stopped before contact. His fingers curled into a fist and lowered. That restraint sent a deeper shiver through her than touch would have. Get some rest, he said. Emily stood. At the doorway. She paused. His eyes lifted. If your daughter comes here, don't let her see you covered in blood. His expression softened so briefly she almost missed it. She hates blood. Emily nodded. Most children do. Then she left before either of them could say something they couldn't take back. Sophia Moretti arrived at sunset. 7 years old, dark hair, serious eyes, pink backpack. She stepped out of an armored SUV holding a stuffed rabbit by one ear. Luca stood on the front steps, like a king waiting for his only weakness. The moment Sophia saw him, she ran. Papa! Emily watched from the upstairs window as Luca dropped to one knee in the rain and caught his daughter in his arms. For a man who controlled half the West Coast underworld, he held the child like she was made of glass. Emily's chest tightened. It should have made him less frightening. It didn't. It made him more complicated. And complicated men were more dangerous than simple monsters. That night, dinner was quiet. Ruth ate soup in her medical room. Sophia sat at the kitchen island drawing with colored pencils, while Luca spoke in low Italian to Caleb near the window. Emily tried to stay invisible, old habit, But Sophia noticed her. "You re Emily, the child," said. Emily looked up. "I am, Papa said you re smart." The room went still. Luca's eyes cut toward his daughter. Emily smiled despite herself. "Did he?" Sophia nodded seriously. "He said you see what men miss." Caleb coughed again. Emily glanced at Luca. His face revealed nothing, but his eyes warned his daughter had just repeated something he had not intended Emily to hear. Emily looked back at Sophia. "Your papa exaggerates." "No," Sophia said. "He doesn't he know how?" That surprised a laugh out of Emily. "Smorf real." Luca heard it. His gaze moved to her mouth. Emily felt the look like heat. She turned away too quickly. Sophia continued drawing. "Are you staying?" Emily's smile faded. "I don't know." Sophia looked at Luca. "She should stay. The house is less quiet." No one spoke. Emily's heart hurt unexpectedly. Luca's expression hardened. But not with anger. With fear. Because his daughter had just attached herself to someone the enemy already wanted dead. And Emily understood then that staying near Luca meant danger. But leaving might not save her. The next days passed like a storm that never fully broke. Emily's mother recovered under private medical care. Sophia followed Emily around the house with questions. Luca disappeared for hours and returned with colder eyes each time. Men came and went. Maps appeared on tables. Names were crossed off lists. Victor Hale was still missing. That was the problem. A traitor who disappeared was not defeated. He was preparing. On the fourth night, Luca found Emily in the laundry room. Of course he did. The safe house had a laundry room nicer than her entire apartment. Warm lights, stone counters, machines so quiet they felt unreal. Emily was folding Sophia's clothes because sitting still made her anxious. Luca stood in the doorway. "You don't work here," he said. "I know." "Then why are you folding laundry?" "Because laundry doesn't ask questions." He stepped inside. The room seemed smaller immediately. Emily kept folding. "You should sleep," he said. "Should you?" "I don't sleep much." I noticed. His gaze lingered on her hands. "You notice everything." "Not everything." "What did you miss?" Emily stopped folding. "My life ending." Luca's expression tightened. She regretted the words immediately, but they were true. "I had a routine," she said. "A bad one, but it was mine. Work, hospital, home, bills, repeat. Then I found one sheet and now my mother is in a mafia safe house. A child is in danger, and I don't know whether the man standing in front of me is protecting me or trapping me." Luca took the words without flinching. "Both," he said. Emily's breath caught. He stepped closer. "I am protecting you because Victor wants you dead. I am keeping you here because outside these walls, I cannot control every angle. And I am trapping you because every time I imagine you walking away, I see blood." Emily's pulse moved into her throat. "That's not romantic." "No," Luca said. "It's honest." She looked at him. The hum of the dryer filled the silence. He was close enough now that she could see the faint bruise beneath his eye. The exhaustion he hid from everyone else, the restraint that cost him something. "Why me?" she whispered. His answer came quietly. "Because you looked at the floor when everyone else admired the ceiling." Emily's chest tightened. "That isn't enough." "No." His eyes darkened. "It isn't." His hand lifted. This time he touched her, only 2 fingers beneath her chin. Gentle, careful, impossible from a man like him. Emily should have pulled away. She didn't. His thumb brushed once along the edge of her jaw. The touch was so restrained it felt devastating. "I don't know what to do with you," he said. Her voice barely worked. "Good." A shadow of a smile touched his mouth. Then Caleb's voice came from the hall. "Boss." The moment shattered. Luca stepped back immediately. Emily felt the loss of his touch like cold air. Caleb appeared at the doorway. "We found Victor." Luca's face became stone. "Where?" Caleb looked at Emily, then back at Luca. "At the hospital. Asking about Ruth Carter's records." Emily went cold. Luca did not let Emily come with him. That was the first mistake. He left her at the safe house with Sophia, Ruth and 6 guards. By midnight Emily was pacing. By 20:20, Sophia was asleep on the couch with her stuffed rabbit. By 20:31 the lights went out. Every light, the house fell into blackness. Emily froze. A second later, the backup generator kicked on. Dim red emergency lights filled the hallway. Then the guards started shouting. Gunfire cracked outside. Emily ran to Sophia. The little girl woke with a gasp. "Emily, come here." Emily grabbed her, heart slamming against her ribs. Ruth called from the medical room. Emily couldn't be in two places. Panic rose. Then she saw it, the laundry chute, a narrow service shaft built into the wall, leading down to the locked basement utility corridor. Most people would not notice it. Emily had noticed it on the first day, because she noticed laundry. She lifted Sophie into her arms and ran to Ruth's room. "Mom, we have to move." Ruth was pale but conscious. "I can walk." "No, you can." I can for her." Together with Sophia clutching Emily's sweater, they moved toward the service hallway. A guard fell near the front entrance. More gunfire. Men shouting in Russian. Emily's blood turned to ice. The Volkovs had found the safe house. She opened the laundry chute door. Sophia stared. "We going in there?" "Yes, it's for sheets tonight." "So are we." She lowered Sophia first, guiding her onto the maintenance ladder inside the shaft. Then Ruth, slow and painful, every second a nightmare. A crash sounded behind them. Emily turned. Victor Hale stood at the end of the corridor. Wet coat. Gun in hand, smile polished as ever. "Clever girl," he said. Emily shoved the chute door, almost closed behind her mother and Sophia. Victor walked closer. "You should have taken the money and stayed invisible." Emily's back pressed to the wall. "I'm starting to hear that a lot." His smile thinned. "You have no idea what you interrupted. Luca Moretti is not a businessman. He is a disease. The Volkovs are the cure. You're stealing from a mafia boss and calling yourself medicine." Victor's eyes hardened. "I'm surviving." "No," Emily said. "You hiding in dirty laundry." His face twisted. He raised the gun. Then the window behind him exploded inward. Luca Moretti came through the storm like death itself. Glass. Rain blood. Black coat whipping around him. He hit Victor before Emily could scream. The two men crashed into the wall. The gun skittered across the floor. Luca's face was not cold now. It was terrifying. Victor fought like a desperate man. Luca fought like a man who had already decided how the night ended. Emily grabbed the gun. Her hands shook violently as she aimed it without knowing if she could ever pull the trigger. Victor saw her. "You want to shoot?" Emily's voice trembled. "Don't test tired women." Luca slammed Victor to the floor and pressed a knee into his chest. "Where is Volkov?" Luca asked. Victor spat blood. "You're too late." Luca leaned closer. "My daughter was 10 feet from you." The room went still. Even Victor seemed to understand the depth of his mistake. Luca's voice dropped. "You don't get a quick death." Emily flinched. "Luca." He looked at her. For 1 second the monster paused. Because she said his name. Because she was shaking. Because behind her, hidden in the laundry shaft, Sophia was crying silently. Emily lowered the gun slightly, not in front of them, she whispered. Luca's eyes changed. The rage did not vanish, it obeyed. He stood slowly and nodded to Caleb, who appeared behind him with 2 men. "Take him." Victor laughed weakly as they dragged him up. "You think she'll love you after she sees what you are?" Luca said nothing. But Emily felt the words land. Victor was dragged into the dark, and in the red emergency light, Luca stood covered in rain and blood, staring at Emily like she had just saved him from becoming the worst version of himself. The war ended 3 nights later at the Bella Vita Hotel. It had to happen there, where it began, where Linen carried secrets, where Emily had stopped being invisible. Luca used Victor as bait. Volkov came for the hidden ledgers, believing Sophia's identity and Luca's hotel rotes would be traded for Victor's life. Instead, Luca turned the entire hotel into a trap. Emily was supposed to stay away. She didn't by then. She understood the hotel better than any of them. The service corridors, laundry routes, blind camera angles, maintenance lifts, hidden staff staircases. Men like Luca owned buildings. Women like Emily knew how buildings breathed. At 11:58 p.m. she stood inside the main laundry room wearing a black coat over her old housekeeping uniform. Luca found her there. Of course he did. His expression darkened the moment he saw her. "I told you to stay at the safe house. And I told you laundry doesn't ask questions. This isn't a joke." "I'm not laughing." He crossed the room in 3 strides. For the first time, his control cracked enough for anger to show. "If Volkov sees you, he already knows I matter." Luca went still. Emily's voice softened. "That's what scares you, isn't it? Not that I'll die because I am nobody. That I'll die because I became somebody to you." His jaw tightened. The machines hummed around them. Outside, thunder rolled over the city. Luca looked at her with such naked intensity that Emily forgot the danger for 1 impossible second. You became somebody the first night, he said. Her breath caught. He stepped closer, but did not touch her. I have spent my life making sure nothing could be used against me. No weakness. No exposed nerve, no soft place for a knife to enter. His voice lowered. Then you walked into my penthouse holding a sheet. Emily's eyes burned. Luca, if this ends badly, he said, I need you to know something. The door at the far end slammed open. Gunfire erupted. Luca grabbed Emily and threw her behind a laundry cart as bullets tore through the machines. Steam burst from a ruptured pipe. The room filled with white fog. Men shouted. Luca shielded her with his body, firing into the haze. Emily crawled toward the emergency shoot-off panel. She had seen it 100 times while cleaning. Red lever. Manual door lock. Ventilation override. She pulled it. Steel fire doors crashed down at both exits. The Volkov gunmen were trapped inside the laundry chamber. So was Luca. Was Emily. Fog thickened. A man lunged from the steam. Emily swung a metal detergent scoop into his face with all the strength panic gave her. He fell. Luca looked over for half a second. Despite everything, despite gunfire and blood, his eyes flashed with something like pride. Then Volkov appeared, older, elegant, white hair, gun aimed directly at Emily. Enough, he said. Luca froze. The fog curled around him like smoke around a demon. Volkov smiled. So this is the housekeeper. Luca's voice was deadly calm. Point that gun elsewhere. No, Volkov said. I think I finally found the right place to point. Emily's heart stopped. Volkov's finger tightened. Luca moved. The shot fired. He took the bullet meant for her. It hit high in his shoulder, spinning him back against the machine. Emily screamed his name. Luca dropped to one knee, but even wounded, he raised his gun. One shot. Volkov fell. Silence crashed through the laundry room. Then all Emily could hear was her own breathing. She crawled to Luca. Blood soaked his shirt. His face was pale, but his eyes found hers immediately. You re-alive, he said. Emily laughed through tears. You got shot and that's what you say? His hand lifted, shaking, and touched her cheek. This time, he did not stop himself. You re-alive, he repeated. Emily pressed her hand over his wound. Stay with me. His mouth curved faintly. That sounded like an order. It is. His eyes softened in a way that broke something inside her. Yes, Emily. And for the first time, Luca Moretti obeyed someone without resentment. He survived, barely. For 2 days, Emily sat beside his hospital bed in a private wing of a luxury clinic he probably owned through 3 shell companies. Sophia slept curled in a chair nearby. Ruth recovered down the hall. Caleb stood guard outside. The city whispered about a gas leak at the Bella Vita. No one mentioned the bodies. No one mentioned Volkov. No one mentioned the housekeeper, who had collapsed a mafia operation by understanding laundry better than accountants understood money. On the 3rd morning, Luca woke while rain softened against the windows. Emily was half asleep, her hand resting near his. Not touching, almost. His fingers moved first. They covered hers. Emily opened her eyes. You reawake. You stayed. You got shot. I've been shot before. And apparently you still haven't learned anything. His thumb moved slowly over her knuckles, a small touch, devastating. Sophia stirred in the chair. Luca looked at his daughter, then back at Emily. Something vulnerable moved across his face. I don't know how to give you a normal life, he said. Emily swallowed. I don't think normal is available anymore. I can give you safety. You can give me guards. I can give you money. I can earn money. I can give you the world. Emily looked at him for a long time. The feared mafia boss. The wounded father. The man who had trapped her, protected her, terrified her, listened to her, and taken a bullet because losing her had become unthinkable. I don't want the world, she said softly. His eyes searched hers. What do you want? Emily leaned closer. Rain blurred the city behind him. I want the truth, even when it's ugly. I want choices, even when you hate them. I want you to stop deciding what protects me without asking what I can survive. Luca was quiet. Then he nodded. Once, a vow from a man who did not make them lightly, and he asked. Emily's heart pounded. And if you ever say you remain again, you'd better understand what that means. His gaze darkened. What does it mean? She took a breath. It means I get to say it back. The silence that followed was not empty. It was full of everything they had survived. Luca lifted her hand and pressed his mouth to her bruised wrist. exactly where Victor had grabbed her days earlier. Not a kiss of possession, a kiss of apology, of reverence, of promise. Emily closed her eyes when she opened them. His gaze was waiting. "I'm yours," Luca said quietly, "if you'll have me." Emily smiled through tears. The most dangerous man in Seattle had finally learned how to surrender. Not to enemies, not to fear. To love. 6 months later, the Bella Vita Hotel reopened after renovations. The official story called it a luxury relaunch. The truth was stranger. Every laundry route had been redesigned. Every inventory system had been rebuilt. Every staff corridor had better lighting. And on the top floor, where executives once ignored the people who cleaned up after them, there was a new office with glass walls overlooking the city. Emily Carter's name was on the door. Not as a maid, not as charity, not as Luca Moretti's weakness, as director of physical operations and internal risk. The title made her laugh the first time she saw it. Luca had not laughed. He had simply said, "It's accurate." That evening, during the reopening gala, Emily stood near the ballroom windows in an emerald dress that fit her perfectly. No pinching waist, no apologizing body, no shrinking. Sophia danced with Ruth near the band, both of them laughing. Caleb stood near the door pretending not to smile. And Luca Moretti crossed the ballroom toward Emily, while every powerful person in Seattle quietly moved out of his way. Old habit, fear still followed him, but when he reached Emily his face changed. Only for her, always for her. "You're staring," she said. "Yes." "At what?" He took her hand. The storm outside had softened to rain, tracing silver lines down the windows. "At the woman who taught me where to look." Emily smiled. "At the floor." Luca's thumb brushed over her fingers. "At the truth." The orchestra shifted into a slower song. He held out his hand. "Dance with me." Emily looked around the ballroom. Politicians, criminals, millionaires, liars, all watching. Once, rooms like this had made her feel invisible. Now Luca Moretti stood in front of everyone, waiting for her answer like it mattered more than anything else in the world. Emily placed her hand in his. Yes. He drew her close, not too fast, not too soft. Careful with his power now, because he finally understood what trust cost. As they moved beneath the black crystal chandelier, Emily rested her hand over his heart. It beat steady under her palm, alive, real, hers if she wanted it. Outside, Seattle glittered through the rain. Inside, the Mafia Boss held the woman nobody used to notice, as if the entire empire beneath his feet existed only to keep her warm. And Emily Carter, who had once been invisible, looked into the eyes of the most feared man on the West Coast, and saw something no expert, no enemy, no accountant, no killer had ever found. Not weakness, not surrender. Love, dangerous, devoted, unbreakable. Luca lowered his forehead to hers and whispered, "Tell me what you see." Emily smiled, and this time, she did not look at the floor. She looked straight at him. "I see home."